Okay, so you want to get to the bottom of something interesting, right? Well, that's what we're all about on this deep dive.
Yeah, going deep on a very specific topic, which today comes from this YouTube transcript.
From Jasnowidzi Krzysztof Jackowski official.
Ah, yes, this will be a fun one.
It will be, and it's one of those that, like you said, we're going deep on one very specific thing, and it is a doozy.
It is.
So we are looking at basically, I guess you could call it claimed fulfilled prophecies and new predictions.
Right, so there's sort of two parts to this video that we're going to be going through and unpacking here.
And just to be clear, like, we are not here to say if this is true or false or anything like that.
No, not at all.
We're just here to, like, look at what was said and pull out any rationale that was offered.
Right, and see if anything is particularly thought-provoking.
Exactly.
And just dissect the content for, what is actually being said here?
Yeah.
What are the specifics of the claims that are made,
Exactly.
the connections that are drawn?
Yeah, and also, like, how are these even categorized? Like, how is this person thinking about the world?
Right, what's the worldview that is being expressed here?
So the source material focuses on earthquakes a lot, so we're going to be talking about earthquakes quite a bit.
Quite a bit, yeah.
And, yeah, so the speaker kind of kicks things off by pointing to several earthquakes that he believes he accurately predicted.
Right.
So the first one that he brings up is a large earthquake in Asia that sadly caused loss of life and building collapses, including high-rises.
Right, quite devastating.
Yeah.
He doesn't give us a specific date or location
Oh.
for that one, but he presents this as a vision that came true. A
Yeah.
fulfilled prophecy, if you will,
Yeah.
which is kind of his whole deal.
Right, exactly. And then he goes on from there.
Yeah, he goes on to talk about a predicted earthquake in Italy
Right?
that he states occurred within just a few days of him making that prediction.
Yeah, just a few days.
Very interesting.
And then he brings up a small earthquake in Poland near Jirysin.
Yes, the Polish earthquake.
This one's very specific.
Yes, very
He
much.
even calls it like an unusual event to foresee.
Right, because it's so small.
Right. It was magnitude 2.3 on the Richter scale.
Right, which is not really something that you would
normally
predict or even be aware of.
feel.
Right.
Exactly. And apparently a seismological station in the area recorded it on the very first day of spring.
Interesting. So it's kind of tied to that date?
Yeah, to that date.
Symbolic, perhaps?
So then it gets really interesting.
Okay.
So he talks about a major oceanic earthquake.
Right.
This was a 7.1 magnitude event in the Pacific Ocean near Tonga.
Yes. This one I remember?
This actually happened the day before the YouTube video was uploaded.
Oh, wow.
That's what's really kind of freaky about this.
That is freaky.
Yeah, and it actually triggered a tsunami warning for areas within 300 kilometers of the epicenter.
Wow. So a serious event.
And we did look into this. This is true.
Mhm.
News reports from Onet Wiadomochi and TVP Info at the time confirmed this exact earthquake and the subsequent tsunami alert.
So this is all verifiable.
Yeah, so what's really interesting is like all four of these earthquakes that he brings up, Asia, Italy, Poland, and then this huge one in the Pacific, all happened within roughly the same week.
Oh, wow. So he's emphasizing the timing
The timing
of all these things happen.
the clustering of them.
Yeah, that there's some kind of connection potentially.
And it's interesting because he even says, like, with the Tonga earthquake, he was terrified.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it followed so closely on the heels of all the others.
Yeah, I mean, it is a bit unnerving when you...
If you believe that you're seeing a pattern.
Right.
Yeah.
And things are escalating.
And then it leads directly into the next major prediction that he makes.
Okay. The mega earthquake.
A mega earthquake.
Right. He talks about that.
He says, building on this recent series of seismic events, he predicts what he calls a total mega earthquake.
Wow.
Potentially the largest in this recent cluster of natural disasters.
Okay, so even bigger than the 7.1.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, it's important to note he doesn't specify a location
No.
or a precise time frame.
Just that it's going to be huge and it's coming.
Yeah, he just says that it will occur after that 7.1 magnitude oceanic quake.
So the recent earthquakes aren't just like isolated incidents for him.
No,
They're all connected.
they're all connected.
Like a build-up to something much bigger.
Yeah.
So it's a way of seeing the world where events aren't random, but they're part of a larger pattern that's unfolding.
Exactly.
Interesting.
So then we shift gears
Okay.
from natural disasters to the realm of geopolitics.
Right. Always a fun transition.
Yeah, he focuses on the relationship between Iran and the USA.
Okay. Sure makes sense. Big players on the world stage.
Yeah, and he recounts this warning from a top leader in Iran,
Oh, this is juicy.
stating that the USA will face a blow if then President Trump's threats to bomb Iran's nuclear program were carried out.
Oh, yeah. I remember this being in the news quite a bit back then.
Yeah, it was a tense time.
Yeah, it was.
And he even brings in some historical context here.
Oh, that's good context is always helpful.
The Iranian leader mentions the long-standing tension between the USA and Israel.
Oh, yeah.
But he believes that a direct attack is not very likely.
But he does say that any act of hostility would be met with a strong response.
Right.
So it's that classic, like, don't mess with us.
Right, exactly. Kind of a warning.
And it really highlights the delicate and often volatile nature of international relations in that region.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then the transcript mentions a detail about the USA deploying high-caliber bombers to an island in the Indian Ocean near Iran.
Uh-oh.
The speaker explicitly raises the concern that this situation has the risk of escalating into a new world war.
World War III, that's a scary thought.
Yeah, and it's a reminder of how quickly regional tensions can have global implications.
Right. And if we consider all of this, like the earthquake stuff, the political tensions, it's like the world is moving towards a period of instability in his view.
Yeah, he's painting a pretty,
Bleak picture. Bleak picture.
yeah.
Okay, so then beyond these like two big ones, the earthquakes and the Iran and the USA,
Okay.
he touches on several other observations and predictions.
Right.
So he revisits a past prediction about very large biological contamination in the Czech Republic.
Oh, yeah. I remember him talking about this.
He claims it to be one of the world's largest, but he doesn't give any specifics.
No, he just kind of throws it out there.
She's like, look into it yourself.
Right.
And then he has this other unsettling vision of a pogrom taking place in a European country.
A pogrom. That's...
Yeah, he very specifically states that it's not Poland.
Okay.
And he describes a scene of one group attacking another near an old significant church or temple.
That's chilling.
Yeah.
Very chilling.
He emphasizes that it will be a tragic and bloody event.
Oh, gosh.
But again, no specifics.
So we don't know where or when
No.
or who's involved?
Yeah.
Just that it's going to be bad?
Then he predicts road blockages in a European country. He very specifically says that these will not be related to the Canadian trucker protests against COVID restrictions.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so it makes you wonder, like, what else could be causing widespread road disruptions?
Yeah, what's the cause there?
And then, circling back to the earthquake, he predicts that the mega earthquake will have a significant impact on a large island,
Right.
potentially causing a portion of it to sink below the water
Wow.
because of the shifting landmass.
So a huge earthquake that changes geography.
Right.
Wow, that's a lot to process.
Then we have a prediction involving Israel and Iran.
Okay, so back to geopolitics.
He has the scenario where Israel launches an attack on targets within Iran,
Okay.
possibly timed around a holiday evening that's significant for either Persians or Israelis.
A holiday evening. That's interesting.
Yeah, and he suggests that the USA might offer support,
Right. At least initially.
at least initially.
Without direct military involvement.
So potentially escalating.
Potentially escalates.
Over time, yeah, and the sequence that he lays out is very specific.
What is the sequence?
He foresees an initial Israeli strike, followed by a period of silence, and then a second Israeli attack, which he believes is more likely to provoke a military response from Iran.
So very calculated kind of a series of events.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So then moving into the economic realm,
Okay.
he predicts that the initial signs of a significant economic downturn
Right.
or very serious instability will emerge in April.
April. Okay.
Yeah, he leaves the exact nature of this open.
So it could be a crash
Yeah.
or it could be like a slow burn.
Right. He says either a crash could happen in April itself, or there might be a brief calm after the initial indicators before a larger impact is felt.
Right. So like a warning sign in April.
Yeah.
And then maybe things get worse later.
And April seems to be a recurring theme in these predictions.
Does it?
Yeah, because he also anticipates a resurgence of pro-war activities in the Middle East starting in April.
Oh, wow.
But he clarifies that this doesn't necessarily mean immediate war with Yemen or Iran.
Okay. But rather an increase in overall tensions.
Tensions rising.
Possibly military posturing.
So a lot happening in April, potentially,
Yeah.
according to him.
And continuing with this April theme,
Yes.
he expects to see a noticeable increase in food prices.
Food prices, that's a big one.
Yeah, he describes it as a rapid and concerning jump that will be evident to everyone.
Wow. So we'll all feel it in our wallets.
Yeah, and it makes you think about the various factors that influence global food costs.
Right. Like supply chains,
Right.
weather patterns,
Yeah.
all sorts of things.
And then he throws in this very specific and rather unusual prediction.
What's that?
He envisions a Polish politician fainting while on camera.
Oh my gosh, that's so specific. Like,
Oh,
how could
that?
he even know that?
I know.
It's just a random event.
Yeah, it's like out of the blue.
Very strange.
And then he adds another detail regarding road blockages.
Okay, more road blockages.
He suggests that they might be connected to a port.
But he admits that he doesn't fully understand the nature of this connection himself.
So even he's a little unsure about that one.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So then we get back to former President Trump.
Oh, boy.
He predicts that if Trump is in power and an attack on Iran takes place, his actions and rhetoric will suggest a desire to escalate the situation.
So really leaning into the conflict.
Yeah, potentially aiming to ignite another conflict or at least create a significant propaganda threat of war.
Oh, wow. So like using it to his advantage
Yeah.
to further his own goals.
Exactly.
Interesting.
And then finally, amongst these very specific predictions, he envisions a situation where 3 American states might potentially rebel against a future President Trump.
3 American states.
Yeah.
Wow, like a mini civil war.
Yeah, like refusing to comply with federal directives.
Oh, wow. So this is about national unity
Yeah.
and political polarization.
Yeah.
Big themes.
So those are all of like the big things that he brings up.
Okay, a lot to unpack there.
A lot to unpack.
But it's not all doom and gloom. Because there's also this philosophical side to the transcript,
Yeah.
which is really interesting.
Yeah, it kind of comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's like a shift in tone.
Yeah.
So he starts contemplating these big concepts like death,
Yeah.
the nature of the soul.
Oh,
He even considers the possibility that animals have souls.
really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And then he gets into like the fabric of reality,
The nature of reality.
suggesting that it might be a construct of our own minds and experiences,
Right.
which is a pretty mind-blowing idea.
Yeah, and he uses this really evocative analogy talking about looking in a mirror and seeing a past version of yourself.
Oh, yeah.
And he's using it to illustrate how our perception of reality and the passage of time is constantly changing.
Right. It's like we're always looking at a past version of ourselves
Exactly.
and the world
And the world.
because the present is already gone
Right.
as soon as we experience it.
It's the past.
Yeah. Wow, that's heavy.
Yeah, and then he gets into like, what is the meaning of life?
Okay, the big question.
And he says that it stems from our experiences and the connections that we forge with others.
So it's all about relationships.
Yeah, and he emphasizes the value of even small acts of kindness
Kindness is key.
and friendship.
Yeah.
And he even includes this personal story about a conversation with a friend concerning the fear of pain rather than death itself.
Oh, wow.
Which really resonated with his own contemplation on mortality.
So he's bringing his own personal experiences here,
Yeah.
which is nice.
Yeah, it adds a human element
It does.
to these broader reflections. And he
Yeah.
concludes this philosophical segment with a striking image.
What's that?
He says that if there is nothing after death, he will use his vast imagination to create his own realm.
Oh.
A neutral and expansive space where those lacking faith can find their place.
So he's creating his own afterlife.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's like a very optimistic way of looking at it.
It is.
So as we bring this deep dive to a close, you can see the sheer scope of topics covered within this single video transcript.
Yeah, we went everywhere.
We went from specific earthquake predictions, some claimed as verified, to extensive geopolitical and economic forecasts, and we even explored some pretty deep philosophical ideas about life and reality.
And I think what's really interesting is that there's this implied interconnectedness between all these different things.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just random events happening in isolation.
Right.
They're all part of a larger pattern.
It suggests a world where different systems are deeply intertwined.
Yeah.
And it's important to remember that what we've provided here is just a concentrated overview of the information as it was presented in the source.
Right. We're just giving you the highlights.
Yeah, we just want to give you a quick but thorough understanding of the key claims and potential implications.
And I think that's what makes this deep dive so fascinating.
There's so much to think about.
There is.
And while many of these predictions are clearly speculative,
Right.
the speaker does highlight the claimed accuracy of his past predictions as they appear in the transcript.
Which is interesting. So it's up to you to decide what you make of all of this.
Right.
What resonates with you?
So considering all this information, what single prediction or observation resonates most strongly with you and why?
That's a good question.
Yeah, think about how these different areas, natural events, politics, economics, might potentially influence one another.
Right. They're all connected in some way.
Yeah.
It's a complex web
Yeah.
of cause and effect.
So here's a final thought to consider. If our perception of reality is as fluid as the speaker suggests,
As fluid as looking in the mirror
right,
and seeing the past.
How might that influence the way we understand events like the ones that we've discussed today?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder about the nature of time
Yeah.
and how we experience it.
And what responsibility do we have in shaping our own understanding of the future in the face of such intriguing claims?
Yeah, that's a big one.
It
It
is.
really makes you think
It does.
about the power of our own minds
And our beliefs.
and how they shape our reality. Fascinating stuff.
It is.